This video is now in session, and today we're going to restart the Redistricting Policies series. And in this new series, I guess, we're talking about redistricting. So we're going to, unlike the first part of the redistricting series, we're going to focus on just a couple of states that are very important to this decade's apportionment. So that includes California, Illinois, New York, Florida, and Texas. We might also include other states like Arizona, or possibly even Oregon, which might not seem that significant, but it is pretty significant in terms of redistricting in Oregon. So let's start. So we're going to do multiple parts in this redistricting series. We're not only going to be talking about redistricting maps, but we're also going to be talking about how redistricting affects race in politics, how it affects our policies. That's why the series is called Redistricting Policies and more. So in this video, we're going to look at the California maps and see how they can redistrict their state. So California currently has 53 congressional districts, and that's the most of any state in the nation. And every single decade, there is a U.S. Census that determines the population changes of each state. And once the census is reported, then the U.S. Census then manages the Census Bureau then manages the apportionment of congressional districts, all 435 congressional districts, to kind of fit into that. And California, between this decade and the next, well, we're in the next decade, but between its current status and its future status, it will lose one congressional district, which is the first time it's happened in California history where they've lost a congressional district, but that's primarily because of slow domestic migration and, in return, a large migration of Californians over to developing states like Texas and Florida. So, even with that, though, California will still remain the most populous state in the nation and and have the most congressional districts of any delegation, which means it has a lot of states, a lot of seats that can be gerrymandered. But for California, though, like a lot of other Democratic states, the Democratic state legislatures have agreed to not allow gerrymandering in California, and they won't allow it because of an independent commission. They have established independent commissions that draw the maps in lieu of the state legislatures. Usually the state legislatures are the people who draw the maps, but in this case, independent people, both Republicans and Democrats, but an independent commission will be drawing the districts. So it's not really that many opportunities for Democrats to actually gerrymander seats. And if we look here, this is the current map that we have for California. You can see all 53 congressional districts, and this is what it will most likely be in the future. So you can see here that it's a lot more, I guess, compact in some ways for each district. It's more like a circle or a square rather than a lot of weird lines, and that's usually good for redistricting, mainly because it's in the favor of the courts to have those kinds of compact districts to reduce any kind of bias that may happen with redistricting. So if we see here, this is all in LA County currently as it is, and then this is what LA County will look like after redistricting. And this is where most likely a seat will be axed, because California is losing one congressional district. Two congressional districts have to combine into one at some place in California, and it's likely to be in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is slower growing compared to the other cities of California, and compared to San Diego, compared to San Francisco, Sacramento, and compared to Fresno. And the thing with this is, the independent commission could try to combine two rural seats, but that seems unlikely to happen, primarily because that's just not quite how it works. It's much easier to it's not quite how it works, primarily because usually with independent commissions, they'll axe the seat that is in the slowest growing areas, and LA County was one of the slower growing areas. And the seat that's most likely going to be axed is California's 44th district. So if we look here, And if we go to California's 44th district, it is right there. And that seat is most likely going to get combined into the 47th district, and as well as the 43rd and 40th district. So currently, the representative of 44th district is Nanette Berrigan, I believe. And this is obviously a safe Democratic seat. If we go here, right here, 67.8%. Compared to the other Democrat in the general election. If you're wondering why there are two Democrats that are in the final ballot, watch. We have a video on how California's elections work, which is through a nonpartisan blanket primary, and you can watch that video. I'll probably put that video at the end of this video. So I digress, though. Here we see that Nanette Berrigan is most likely going to be axed, but it's not all bad for her because the three surrounding districts the districts that surround her seat, her current seat, are held by people who are pretty old. So people like Maxine Waters, Alan Lowenthal, and as well as other representatives in this area. They're all reaching a retirement age, especially Maxine Waters. She is likely to be retiring very soon. So that's an opportunity for Nanette to get one of those seats because she will be in those districts. Now, moving over a little bit down south to Orange County and to this area, this is a pretty competitive area between Democrats and Republicans. It used to be a ruby red Republican area, but now it's more of a competitive place. And this is where Democrats could start to get Democrats could start to do worsen, primarily because of how the Independent Commission might want to draw this area. What they're most likely going to do is they're most likely going to put the entirety of Orange County under Katie Porter's influence, and she is part of the California's 45th district. And you can see here, this is her current area. This is what her current district is, and you can see here that it doesn't encompass all of Orange County, and that's good for her because she does need this area of Santa Ana and as well as more of the Irvine area in order to win her elections. But with her seat being put all the way down here, and with her seat potentially getting all of Orange County, it's going to be much harder to win, especially because she is a progressive. So we'll have to see what happens there, but it will most likely become a competitive seat, even though, it is already somewhat competitive. Katie Porter only won by 7%, but it's likely to be much more competitive come 2022. Meanwhile, for the two Republicans that hold the Orange County seats, Young Kim and Michelle Steele, they're from 48th District and 39th District. Both of them just managed to win in the last election, and you can see that 48th and 39th are there. And compared to here, this is for Young Kim for the 39th district. I suspect that it might be a little bit worse for her because she is no longer having this area of a little bit east of Corona, and instead she's having this area more of Anaheim, Orange County, and that's not as good for her because that's a much more competitive place for Democrats, and that's pretty much where Katie Porter was. I believe that's where Katie Porter's congressional district was, or currently is. And then for Michelle Steele, the other Republican, she'll probably do fine. There's not really much difference between now and then, now and the future, besides that her district is going to go a little bit more packed in this area of Long Beach. So it will be as competitive as it currently is, maybe even a tiny bit more competitive, but I don't expect that many changes to happen with her district. Now, there's obviously a big question for Democrats, which is what is going to happen with Devin Nunes and as well as Kevin McCarthy. Both are staunch Republicans. Kevin McCarthy might be declared speaker in 2022. Actually, probably, if you've watched all of our videos, you know that Republicans are favored to win in House seats in the future. Or favored to win the speakership position in 2022. But you can see here that Devin Nunes won by 9 percentage points, and then not David Villado, Kevin McCarthy won his district by a large margin of 25 percentage points. So the independent redistricting organizations of California, they might try to do something with those seats, but it's very, very highly unlikely. And even then, if Democrats were in control of the redistricting in the state, both seats are it's pointless to redistrict both seats that it favors Democrats, because ultimately Democrats will have to shore up some support from this area and and it just makes it much harder for Democrats to then also be able to get districts in this area, to be able to get California's 25th district, the 39th district, and the 48th district. So it's unlikely that Devin Nunes or Kevin McCarthy are going anywhere anytime soon, but so for all the liberals out there who want him gone, who want both of them gone, it's unlikely that it will be so. But for Republicans, though, it's unlikely that the independent commission is going to help Republicans that much. It's mainly going to be a shift in power between Democrats and between Republicans, not crossing between Republicans and Democrats. And it could actually, at the very most, be beneficial for Democrats in the 25th district right here, which is currently a Trump district, or not a Trump district, but rather a Republican district. You can see here that it's a little bit north of Los Angeles, but that district is going to come closer to the Hollywood area, which means that it's going to become more Democratic and harder for Mike Garcia, who I believe is the current representative, to win his re-election campaign in 2022. In fact, you can see here that he only won by 0.1 percentage point, which is very low, just by 333 votes. Wow, 333. But anyway, that's practically what's happening in California with redistricting. It's unlikely anything's gonna change once again, but that's fine for California, because they have 53 congressional districts, and if there's no change, then it just keeps the status quo, and there's nothing wrong with the status quo in California, since this is also not a gerrymandered map. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.